L Company had been in heavy combat in mountainous terrain for 10 hours, and they were exhausted. When their foxholes were dug, they ate their first meal of the day, cold sea rations. They dined to the sound of the 85th Mountain Infantry Regiment fighting its way toward Mount della Terraccia. Word arrived that no relief was coming, and that they would have to spend the night there. PFC Norman Goldenberg later wrote, "When the sun had almost set, Buck Hagen and I sat in our foxhole. Around us all was quiet. The hole wasn't deep, so our heads were exposed. Facing each other, I tended a twig fire between our feet. We eagerly awaited a cup of coffee. The water boiled. I made coffee. Before drinking, we raised our cups to click together in a toast. A single shell landed high on the ridge. We ignored it. A piece of shrapnel flew precisely between our cups, which were less than a handspan apart. The shrapnel hit the lip of the foxhole and ricocheted into space. We completed our toast and laughed. A miss is as good as a mile. Truth is stranger than fiction. Violence knows no script." Casualty reports were compiled as darkness brought cold. L Company sustained losses of almost 25%. 12 men were killed, and 30 were wounded on the slopes between Mount Gorgolesco and Mazzincana. The leadership of the company performed well, visibly urging the troops on throughout the day. As a result, the officers and NCOs were decimated. 2 lieutenants and 13 sergeants were among those hit, a loss rate of more than 1 in 3. Still laid out on the slope of Mount Gorgolesco, the wounded 2nd Lieutenant Ralph Meyer recalled, "As darkness was falling, a glorious sight appeared. Bob Mahoney appeared with a litter team composed of German prisoners. One of the Germans saw that I was shivering violently, so he took off his long white overcoat and covered me. I was conscious enough to say Dankeschön. The litter team carried me back to the 3rd Battalion aid station and then back to the regimental field hospital. After that, I went through a series of hospitals and was finally sent back to one in the USA. I never returned to the division, and so wasn't able to thank Bob for saving my life." Although the troops had been in action all day and had not slept the previous night, there was little opportunity for rest. After dark, the Germans made a probing attack. L Company repulsed them without loss. The sky was constantly lit up with flares and flashes as shells exploded all around the mountains, punctuating the icy evening. The men's ears rang from the day-long cacophony. Many soldiers who had been eager to prove themselves that morning now wanted nothing so much as to go home without being in another fight. Sergeant Bill Morrison recalled, "The past 8 hours had been a lifetime of fear and danger. It seemed incredible that what happened could have been in such a short time. We were already exhausted, sick of war, and hungry. I saw a change in the guys. They looked beat, their eyes were dull, and they were quiet and sober. Sergeant Sam Bulkley and I decided to dig together. We struck rock about 18 inches down and put a few branches in the bottom. We knew that such a shallow hole was not very good protection, but we were too tired to dig another one. We set up 1-hour guard shifts. We watched moving lights way down there where we had been that morning. Perhaps medics were looking for the wounded and dead. The Germans launched some shells down there, probably because of this. We shivered and shook all night, partly from fear and partly from the cold. Night brings all the worries, cares, and fears of the day to the fore of your mind. This had been the most nightmarish day imaginable. We prayed. We didn't want to die."